"You're a useless mistake," my dad said while my mom tried to force me to save my brother. Then the doctor spoke 6 words, and my mom collapsed. They didn't wait for a quiet room or a private office. No, they had to do it in the damn waiting area of the transplant clinic. "I'm not doing it," I said, my voice low but firm, clutching the edge of my seat like it might keep me grounded. Mom stood in front of me, holding my file in both hands. I'd watched her rehearse this moment with her eyes all morning, masking it behind forced calm during the car ride. Now it was gone. She ripped the folder in half with a single violent motion, scattering the shredded contents onto the linoleum floor. "You're killing your brother," she screamed. "You selfish coward. Do you even care if Liam dies?" The staff behind the front desk froze. A nurse stopped mid-stride in the hallway. Eyes everywhere, judging, watching. My face burned. "Mom, stop," I said, but it came out more like a whisper. I reached down to start gathering the torn documents. My test results, my refusal form, the release papers. They didn't care, but I did. That paperwork was the only thing proving I'd made a choice. My choice. Dad didn't yell. He never did. He leaned against the wall, arms folded, like he was waiting for a coffee order. When he finally spoke, it was with a casual cruelty that hit even harder than Mom's screaming. "You were a mistake, Ethan," he said, not even looking at me. "We should have left you at the hospital the day you were born." That made the nurse behind the desk flinch. I caught it. The pieces of paper trembled in my hands. I wanted to cry, to scream, to run. But I didn't. I kept collecting the fragments like they mattered. Because they did. They were all I had. Behind the glass wall of the ICU prep room, Liam sat propped up on pillows, pale and thin, an oxygen line taped beneath his nose. His eyes met mine. He smiled. Not a grateful smile. Not one of relief or hope. No, he smiled like he'd won. Like this whole scene had played out exactly how he expected. He gave me a smug little nod, like a silent, "told you so." And I realized, he wasn't surprised I said no. He was surprised I still thought I had a choice. They all did. The tears didn't come. Not then. I straightened up slowly, my jaw clenched. "I'm not doing it," I said again. Louder this time. Firmer. Mom stormed out, muttering to herself. Dad followed, saying nothing, not even looking back. I was left standing in the middle of the clinic, holding scraps of my own autonomy, like confetti from a war I never wanted to fight. A couple of people whispered. One woman shook her head, probably wondering how I could abandon my poor, dying brother. None of them knew the truth. But I was starting to. And for the first time, I wasn't ashamed of saying no. I was terrified, yes, but also clear. Crystal clear. They weren't asking me to save Liam. They were demanding I disappear to keep him alive. I looked at Liam one last time. He winked. Actually winked. And in that moment, something snapped. Not in a violent way. More like a lock coming undone. They weren't going to stop. Not unless I made them. I tucked the shredded paperwork into my backpack. Because this was only the beginning. I didn't go home after the clinic. I walked. Just kept going, past the parking lot, through 2 blocks of medical buildings, past a Starbucks I used to take Liam to when we were kids. My legs moved automatically, like they had a destination even if I didn't. My name is Ethan Moore. I'm 26 years old. I live in Denton, Texas. And up until this morning, I still thought I owed that family something. I ended up at a park near the university where I used to take evening walks. I sat down on a bench under a creaky oak tree and pulled out the shredded papers from my bag. I didn't look at them. I just needed to hold them for a second. Proof that I hadn't imagined any of it. The yelling, the accusations, the smirk on Liam's face. I leaned back against the bench and closed my eyes. And the memories hit fast. I remembered Liam's 16th birthday. Dad surprised him with a black Civic, shiny and washed, and tied with a bow in the driveway. Mom cried happy tears, saying he deserved it for being such a good son. That same year, I turned 13. They gave me a box of hand-me-down clothes and a cupcake with a candle already burned halfway. "You should be grateful," Dad had said. "We took you in." Back then, I didn't know what he meant by that. I thought he was just being dramatic. But now, it echoed differently. Sharper. I remembered family dinners where Liam bragged about school, girls, and football, and Dad beamed like he was watching a Hallmark movie. If I said something about a good grade or a new book I liked, Mom would change the subject like she hadn't heard me. And I remembered something else, just a few months ago. When the doctors said Liam might need a liver transplant, I volunteered right away. Not because they asked. Not because they begged. I wanted to help. I bought one of those ancestry kits. I figured, hey, maybe I could be a match. But the results came back saying what I hadn't expected at all. I wasn't a match. Not even close. Different blood type. Different markers. The paperwork didn't come out and say it directly, but the implications were clear. It was the kind of result that suggested I wasn't who I thought I was. Not biologically, at least. I hadn't told anyone. Not Mom. Not Dad. not even Jenna. But now I was starting to understand the cracks that had always been there. Things that didn't quite make sense. The way they talked about me growing up, like I was a guest instead of a son. The way Liam looked at me like I was a tool, not a brother. They always knew. I pulled out my phone and opened a message thread with Jenna. She was an old friend, now a legal advisor in Austin. We hadn't talked much since college, but I trusted her. Always had. I snapped a photo of the DNA report, one I'd kept in a private folder, and sent it with a short message. Hold on to this. Just in case. Things are getting messy. She replied almost immediately. Got it. You okay? I stared at the screen for a second, then typed. No, but I will be. I looked up from the screen and scanned the park. Kids were playing soccer in the distance. A couple walked by holding hands, laughing about something small and dumb and beautiful. None of them had any idea what it felt like to realize your family might not be your family at all. I used to think saying no to the surgery made me a bad person. Now I knew better. This wasn't about the transplant. It never really was. This was about control. About being the backup plan. About being the one they could guilt, threaten, and manipulate because I never fought back. Until now. I opened the note app on my phone and started a new entry. Document everything. I wrote at the top. Every call. Every message. Every threat. I would collect it all. Because if they were going to lie, I needed to be ready with the truth. I zipped up my bag and stood, brushing dirt off my jeans. The sun was dipping lower behind the trees, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of mine. The next morning, I was sitting at a bus stop near the old part of town, watching cars crawl by like they had nowhere important to be. I hadn't slept much. Maybe 2 hours, tops. My head still throbbed from the confrontation, and my phone had been buzzing on and off all night with missed calls from Mom. I hadn't answered. I wasn't ready. Instead, I sat there, sipping on a gas station coffee and trying to map out my next move. Jenna had already texted again that morning. She told me to keep everything backed up in 2 places and warned me not to sign anything without her looking at it first. Smart. That's why I'd sent her the DNA report. She wouldn't flinch if things got ugly. I was scrolling through old voicemails when the email came in. The subject line was simple. Hey, it's Olivia. At first, I didn't recognize the name. But then it clicked, Olivia Chambers. She'd lived 2 houses down from us growing up. We used to trade comic books through the fence when we were kids. She moved away during high school after her parents split, and I hadn't thought about her in years. I opened the email. Subject, I saw what happened. Hey Ethan, I hope this doesn't come out of nowhere. I don't even know if you remember me. Olivia from Maple Street? I saw your name mentioned in a thread last night. Someone posted about a clinic incident in Denton, and I remembered your brother's name. I started connecting dots. I'm not trying to be weird, but if that was you, I wanted to reach out. You probably don't remember this, but I saw a lot when we were kids. Your mom yelling at you in the driveway. Liam shoving you during backyard games while your dad pretended not to notice. Back then, I started keeping notes. I know that sounds nuts, but I was obsessed with documenting things. I even took photos sometimes, old school digital camera stuff. Anyway, I never knew if I'd ever use any of it. But last night I dug it all up. If you want it, I'm attaching some of the old files. There's more if you ever need it. Just figured you might. Olivia. P.S. You weren't crazy. They always treated you different. Attached were 4 JPGs and 3 scans of handwritten notes. I opened the first image. It was grainy, clearly taken from behind a curtain or a screen door, but I recognized the scene instantly. Me, maybe 11 years old, standing alone in the backyard holding a baseball glove. Liam, arms crossed, smirking. Dad off to the side, yelling at me with his hands in the air. I didn't remember what the argument was about, but I remembered the feeling, the shame, the way no one stood up for me. The next file was a photo of my 12th birthday. A cake with 1 candle and no guests. Just me, sitting at the table with a paper plate while Liam mugged for the camera in the background, already holding the gift Mom had bought for both of us. I remember he kept it in his room, told me I could use it if I asked nicely. The notes were even worse. Olivia had written them like a court reporter. March 3rd, 2010. Ethan came home with a science trophy. His mom told him not to show off. Liam broke the trophy later that night. No one said anything. June 15th, 2012. Ethan cried during dinner. His dad said boys don't cry. Liam laughed and told him he was adopted. His mom didn't correct it. My stomach turned. This wasn't just childhood roughness. It was a pattern, a culture. I had lived inside it for so long that I thought it was just what family looked like. I didn't realize how wrong it all was until I saw it from the outside. I opened my voice recorder app and hit record. My hands were trembling, but my voice came out clear. My name is Ethan Moore. I'm 26 years old. This is my statement regarding my family and the events surrounding the attempted coercion into a liver transplant for my brother Liam. I paused. I volunteered at first. I got tested, but I wasn't a match. And I never told them. That part's on me. I just wanted to feel like I mattered. But when I told them I wouldn't do it, they lost it. I went on for 10 minutes, outlining everything. The confrontation at the clinic. The insults. The pressure. Liam's grin. I stopped the recording and saved it under a simple name, Statement 1. Then I opened a new email to the transplant clinic's ethics board. The website had listed their general inbox. I typed out a short message, attached a PDF of the DNA results, and the audio file. Subject: patient coercion and fraudulent pressure related to liver donation request. I didn't write a big dramatic letter. I just gave them the facts, the dates, the proof. Enough to raise questions. Then I hit send. I sat back on the bench, listening to the buzz of traffic and the rustle of tree leaves above me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to power. I didn't have to yell. I didn't have to fight them on their terms. I just had to tell the truth and be ready when the next wave came. Because they weren't done with me. But now, I wasn't done either. It happened in the hallway outside the transplant coordinator's office. I was just trying to pick up a printed copy of the DNA test Jenna had mailed overnight. Something official, notarized, clean. I didn't even see him coming. 1 second I was opening the manila envelope. The next second, still playing victim, huh? I turned. Dad was standing just a few feet away, arms folded, face unreadable. His tie was loose like he hadn't bothered to fix it after yelling at someone. Or maybe he was saving it all for me. I didn't say anything at first. I just slipped the document into my backpack and zipped it closed. I didn't know you'd be here, I said quietly. His mouth twitched like he wanted to laugh, but couldn't quite manage it. Of course not. You don't know much of anything, do you? I straightened up, but I didn't step closer. I came to pick up paperwork. That's it. He took a slow step toward me. So that's it then? You're really going through with this little tantrum? Throwing your whole family under the bus because what? Someone asked you to step up? He kept his voice low, but the venom in it curled under my skin. I already told you, I said. I'm not a match. I have the test to prove it. You knew that. Don't feed me that crap, he snapped, finally losing his calm. You didn't tell us a damn thing until you wanted to play hero. You let your mother think you were our last hope, and then you pull the rug out like some coward. I felt it again, that tightness in my chest. Not fear. Not even sadness this time. Clarity. You never saw me as your son, I said slowly. You didn't even try to fake it. He tilted his head. What the hell are you talking about? All those years, the birthdays, the we took you in comments. Liam gets praise, I get lectures. Liam screws up, I get blamed. I thought it was favoritism, but it wasn't. It was rejection. From day one. He didn't blink. Didn't argue. Just stared at me with a look that I finally understood. It wasn't disappointment. It was contempt. You're a selfish mistake, he said. And if you had any decency, you'd fix this before your brother dies. There it was. No yelling. No pacing. Just cold, precise cruelty. I looked past him, through the narrow hallway window into the observation room, where Liam lay again. He wasn't even looking this time. He didn't have to. He already knew Dad would come do the dirty work. I turned back. You want a scapegoat? Fine. You want to believe I ruined your perfect son's life? Go ahead. But I'm not playing your game anymore. Dad stepped in closer, lowering his voice. We took care of you. You used me, I said, voice steady. And now that I'm not useful, I'm disposable. He didn't deny it. That silence was louder than anything he could have said. I slung my bag over my shoulder and stepped past him, brushing his arm on the way. My heart was pounding, but I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. And I didn't flinch when I heard his final words, tossed like a rock behind me. You'll regret this, Ethan. When Liam's gone, and your mother's broken, and the world sees what you really are, don't come crying back. I kept walking, because I wouldn't be crying. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was awake. When I got outside, I texted Jenna. He found me. Said exactly what I thought he would. She responded 30 seconds later. Want me to start drafting a timeline for potential civil coercion? It's getting close. I paused, then typed. Yes. Also, be ready. They'll try something next. I hit send, slid my phone into my jacket, and kept walking down the sidewalk as the wind picked up. I could feel it now. They were out of tools. And getting desperate. I was halfway through a microwave burrito in the clinic cafeteria when my name came over the intercom. Ethan Moore, please report to room 3B. Ethan Moore, 3B. At first, I thought maybe it was another attempt to talk me into something. Another lecture from a social worker or some moral appeal from a chaplain. I almost didn't go. But something about the voice, calm, clipped, too official, made me stand up. Room 3B was tucked in the administrative wing, away from the patient areas. When I stepped inside, Dr. Hollis, mid-50s, crisp white coat, glasses that didn't hide how tired she looked, stood beside a long conference table. Her expression was unreadable. "Ethan," she said, motioning to the chair across from her. "Have a seat." I dropped into the chair, keeping my backpack on. She slid a manila folder across the table toward me. "This came across my desk this morning." I opened it and froze. Inside was a consent form. My name, my signature, my initials at the bottom of each paragraph. But it wasn't mine. Not even close. The signature was a shaky imitation. The date was 2 days ago, and the form stated clearly, "Ethan Moore has voluntarily agreed to serve as a living liver donor for his brother Liam Moore." "What is this?" I said, my voice flat but shaking underneath. Dr. Hollis sat back. "It was submitted by your mother. Faxed in early this morning with a follow-up call confirming the decision had been made. She claimed you signed it at home." I looked at her hard. "You believe that?" She didn't blink. "I don't. Which is why I haven't moved it to legal yet." I shut the folder and pushed it back toward her. "That's a forged document. That's my name on something I never signed." "I figured," she said softly. I rubbed my face, trying to calm the rising burn behind my eyes. It wasn't shock. I should have expected it. I just didn't think they'd be this bold. This desperate. "I need proof it's fake," I said finally. "Something notarized from the clinic stating that I never signed this. That this wasn't submitted with my knowledge or consent." Dr. Hollis nodded. "Already in progress. The only reason I'm showing you this now is because you need to be prepared. If this got pushed through without a flag, you could have been put on pre-op within days." I swallowed hard. They weren't just trying to pressure me now. They were trying to erase my no completely. "I want copies of everything," I said. "The fax, the form, timestamps, call logs. Anything that shows she submitted this without me. I'll have my lawyer follow up." Dr. Hollis handed me a second folder. "Already printed." She paused. "Ethan, I've worked here 15 years. I've seen families push hard, guilt their kids, scream in lobbies. But forging consent? That's another level." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My mind was racing too fast. I grabbed the folder and stood to leave. As I reached the door, she added quietly, "Whatever you're planning, don't wait too long." I nodded once and walked out. I found the nearest bench in the hallway and sat down, flipping through the papers. Fax header, submitted by S. Moore. Call log. Incoming from home number at 7:14 a.m. Consent form. My name, my forged signature, a neat X, in the box marked voluntary agreement. I pulled out my phone and snapped photos of each page, sending them to Jenna one by one. I followed up with a short message. "They forged my consent. Got proof. What now?" She replied within a minute. "Want to go public? We can burn this now." I stared at the screen, then typed back. "Not yet. Drafting affidavit now. Test results, forged form, verbal coercion. We'll move when they do." "Understood," she replied. I created a new document on my phone and began typing, line by line, fact by fact. Dates, names, quotes, test results, screenshots. My voice, in written form. Calm. Unshakable. By the time I was done, I had the beginning of something bigger than just a complaint. This wasn't a family argument anymore. This was fraud. This was medical ethics. This was legal. I stood up, holding both folders like they weighed more than they did, and walked out of the clinic. I could feel eyes watching me from somewhere. The building. The parking lot. My own head. But I wasn't scared. I was ready. Let them try something next. I was finally prepared to answer. I wasn't supposed to be at the clinic that day. I had no appointment, no reason to show up, at least not officially. But Jenna had tipped me off the night before. They're planning something. I heard there's going to be a press event. Check the clinic's media bulletin. I checked. Family donor heroism, a story of love and sacrifice, scheduled for 11 a.m. Wednesday, main atrium. And right there in the details. Join the Moore family as they thank the anonymous donor who stepped up to save Liam Moore's life. Anonymous. Anonymous. They had found a way to take the story and scrub me out of it completely. I arrived 15 minutes early and stayed outside, tucked behind a concrete pillar near the parking deck. Through the wide glass lobby windows, I could see people setting up cameras, a local news crew adjusting lights, the hospital PR team laying out refreshments. Then I saw them. My mother, in one of her church blouses, smiling wide and fake as ever. My father, in a sport coat he probably hadn't worn since court. And Liam, in a wheelchair now, pale but upright, nodding at people with practiced humility like a prince greeting peasants. I moved to the side of the building, near the service corridor where delivery staff came in and out. I didn't want to make a scene. Not yet. I just wanted to see how far they were willing to take it. The announcement started right on time. The hospital rep gave a short speech, talked about the incredible bravery of families and the importance of living donors. Then Mom stepped up to the mic, tears in her voice, hands folded like a prayer. "We're just so grateful," she said, For the anonymous donor who gave our Liam a second chance. This family has been through so much, but in the end, love won. Applause. Flashbulbs. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I hit record on my phone. I filmed all of it. The speech, the camera flashes, the part where Liam weakly raised his hand and said, "Thank you to whoever you are. You saved me." They were rewriting history in real time, and no one blinked. When it was over, they stepped down for photos. I waited until the crowd started breaking apart before walking in through the side doors. I approached calmly. No yelling, no confrontation. Just walked up like someone who belonged there. My mom turned and saw me first. Her smile faltered for half a second, then she recovered. "Ethan," she said, like I was a long-lost cousin showing up to someone else's birthday party. "You have something to say?" I asked, holding up my phone, still recording. Her eyes narrowed. "Now's not the time. You made me the anonymous donor?" She blinked. "You weren't going to help. We had to say something." "There is no donor," I said. "He never got the transplant. You just wanted the photo op." "We did what we had to do," she hissed. "We needed people to believe Liam had a chance. You ruined that." I stepped forward. "You erased me. On purpose." Before she could answer, she reached out, fast, and slapped the phone from my hand. It hit the ground face down with a hard crack. The screen was spiderwebbed when I picked it up, but the video was still rolling. I turned to the security guard standing near the hallway entrance. "I'd like to file a report. She just broke my property." The man blinked, startled. Sir, can we step over here?" "No," I said firmly. "Right here is fine." My mother stood frozen, fists clenched, red in the face. I looked her in the eye. "You lied to the public. You staged a press event for a surgery that never happened. You forged consent documents. You falsified a match. And now you've damaged my phone in front of witnesses." She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I walked past her. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to plead. They wanted to erase me. Now they had given me all the proof I needed. Outside, I pulled out my backup phone from my backpack, a burner I'd bought 2 days ago just in case. I texted Jenna. "Me. They held a press event. Thanked a fake donor. I have the whole thing on video, plus footage of her smashing my phone." "Jenna, that's public fraud and destruction of property. You ready to move?" "Me. Yes. They erased me. It's time they're exposed." I looked up at the clinic building one last time. Glass walls, polished steel letters, and inside it, a lie so bold it had its own microphone. But I wasn't afraid of them anymore. They could build a stage and paint a story. I had the truth. And this time, I wasn't staying quiet. I got the call just after lunch, while I was standing in line at a corner taco truck 2 blocks from Jenna's office. The phone vibrated in my pocket with the caller ID flashing. "Dr. Hollis, Transplant Services." I stepped out of line and answered. "Ethan Moore speaking." Her voice was quiet, measured, but not cold. "Can you come in today? It's important." "Is this about the forged consent?" I asked. There was a pause. "No, this is something else." I took a breath. "I'll be there in 20. She met me in her office this time. No conference table, no legal folders. Just a plain wooden desk and a chair across from hers. Her nameplate sat neatly in the center, and beside it was a slim, blue folder with my name typed in bold letters. She didn't waste time. "I got permission from the medical board to disclose a finding," she said. "Off the record, but with verification in writing." I stared at her, unsure where this was going. "Okay." She opened the folder, turned it around, and slid it to me. I scanned the document. Something from the original liver compatibility test, flagged and re-verified. It was signed by a specialist in Houston. 6 words were underlined in red ink. "You are not biologically related." My heart dropped. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I already suspected," I said finally. "I took an ancestry test months ago. Didn't say it straight out, but I figured something wasn't right." She nodded slowly. "I thought you might have known. But this makes it official." I leaned back in the chair, letting the words settle. I wasn't biologically related to Liam. Or to them. Not my brother. Not my parents. I wasn't just not a match. I wasn't even part of the same tree. All the favoritism. The hand-me-down birthdays. The quiet resentment. It wasn't in my head. It had always been there. They just never thought I'd figure it out. I looked up at her. "Can I have a copy of this?" "Already printed," she said, handing me a second folder. I took it with both hands like it weighed more than it did. Most people would break right then. Most people would cry or curse or walk out shaking. But me? I felt steady. Empty, yes, but solid. Like something had finally clicked into place. "Thank you," I said. "I'm going to talk to everyone." "Ethan," she started, but I was already standing. Already walking toward the door. "I'm not asking anymore," I said over my shoulder. "I'm done being the quiet one." Outside, I called Jenna. She picked up on the first ring. "Hey, what happened?" I held the phone to my ear with one hand, and the folder in the other. You were right, I said. They're not my family. She didn't speak right away. Then, okay, then let's burn this down the right way. Media room still set up? I asked. Yes, she said. They're still giving interviews about the miracle. Local stations. Some health nonprofit is here too. I nodded. Good. I'm coming. 20 minutes later, I stood outside the clinic again, this time near the back entrance where staff passed through for smoke breaks. Jenna met me in a gray blazer, hair tied back, holding a manila envelope under one arm like it was a weapon. You sure? She asked. I'm ready, I said. She studied me, then gave a small nod. Let's go then. We walked side by side down the corridor toward the media room. The hallway lights flickered above us, humming faintly. I passed a framed poster with a smiling family under the words, "Compassion is our commitment." I stared at it as I walked past. They had tried to write me out of the story, but now I had the ending. And this time, I would be the one holding the mic. The clinic's media room wasn't huge, just a modest conference space with a podium and rows of chairs, but it felt like a courtroom the second I stepped inside. Reporters sat in folding chairs, some typing notes, others adjusting their phone cameras. A few nurses stood along the walls, whispering. A banner stretched across the back wall, celebrating sacrifice, a family story of hope. They didn't notice me at first. I wasn't supposed to be there. But then one of the volunteers near the podium looked up and froze. I saw the moment the color drained from her face as she leaned toward the hospital rep and whispered, "That's him." Gasps. A few murmurs. I walked to the front. Didn't ask for permission. Didn't wait to be introduced. I just stepped behind the mic and opened the manila folder Jenna had handed me outside. Inside were three things: my DNA test results, the notarized statement from Dr. Hollis confirming I wasn't a biological match, and a high-resolution printout of the forged consent form. I held them up one by one. "My name is Ethan Moore," I said. "I'm the person this family tried to erase." A stunned silence filled the room. I looked straight ahead, locking eyes with the row where my parents sat. Mom's jaw fell open. Dad looked like someone had slapped him with a briefcase. Liam, still pale, still smug, sat near the side with a nurse beside him. He wasn't smiling now. I placed the DNA results on the podium. "This document proves I am not a biological match to my brother Liam. In fact, I am not biologically related to this family at all." A ripple of whispers. "I discovered this months ago," I continued, voice steady. "But I still considered donating. I wanted to help. I volunteered to get tested. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could finally belong." I held up the forged form next. "This is a forged consent document. My name, my fake signature, submitted without my knowledge. I have a signed affidavit from the clinic stating I never agreed." I turned the paper slightly so the front row of reporters could see. "My mother submitted this behind my back. My father supported it. And Liam," I paused, locking eyes with him, grinned while it all happened. A wave of murmuring now. Phones lifted higher. The PR staff began to shift nervously. I was called a mistake, a burden, an ungrateful coward, I said. And when I said no, they tried to erase me. Not just from the procedure, but from the entire story. I reached for the last document. A timeline Jenna helped draft. Every piece of this has been documented. Every lie, every threat, every manipulation. Then I looked at the crowd, at the blinking red lights of phone cameras. "This isn't revenge," I said. "This is the truth. You don't get to demand someone's body and call it love. You don't get to rewrite the story when the person says no. You don't get to build a fake miracle out of coercion and fraud." Behind me, I heard a chair scrape back loudly. Someone stood up fast. It was my mother. She staggered to her feet, face pale as porcelain. Then, right there in front of everyone, she fainted. Gasps echoed. A nurse rushed forward. My father half stood, then hesitated like he wasn't sure whether to help or walk out. I didn't move. I just turned the mic off, gathered my folder, and stepped down. Reporters surged forward with questions, but I kept walking. Past the podium, past the cameras, past the hospital's social worker who looked like she might throw up. Liam's voice broke through the noise behind me. "You think this makes you better than us?" I stopped, turned back once. "No," I said calmly. "It makes me free." Then I walked out of the room, out of the building, out of the narrative they tried so hard to control. And for the first time in my life, the weight wasn't on my shoulders anymore. It was on theirs. The fallout came fast. Within 2 days, the local news picked up my press statement. Not just the liver donor lie, but the forged documents, the public coercion, and the fact that I was never even their biological child. The clinic's ethics board announced an internal investigation by the end of the week. Lawyers called Jenna. Reporters called me. Social media exploded. Hashtag anonymous no more trended for almost 6 hours before fading into the next outrage. But for me, it never faded. It was just beginning. I didn't return to the house. I didn't answer Mom's desperate voicemails or Dad's messages that bounced between anger and apology. Instead, I gave the truth space to breathe. I sent over copies of every document to the clinic per Jenna's advice, filed a formal complaint with the medical board, sent notarized letters requesting the removal of my name from all transplant-related documents, and I began the legal process to sever all remaining ties. The silence from them only lasted a few days. Then came a knock at my apartment door one morning, a courier, a small envelope inside, a single handwritten letter from Liam. "Let's talk." I almost threw it away, but something in me, maybe the part that still craved closure, said yes. We met in the clinic's garden, a dull little square with plastic benches and trimmed hedges. No cameras, no microphones, just two brothers who were never really brothers at all. He was waiting when I arrived, sitting beneath a crabapple tree with a wool blanket across his knees. He looked smaller, not sick, just diminished. "You made your point," he said flatly, not even a hello. "I didn't come here to argue," I replied. A long pause passed between us. Then he finally looked up. "They only kept you around in case I needed you." There it was. No hesitation, no regret, just fact. I nodded once. "I know. You still came here," he said, like he didn't understand why. "Because I needed to hear it. Out loud. From you." He scoffed. "So what, you want forgiveness? Or to rub it in?" I shook my head. "I'm not here for either. I'm here to say goodbye." He didn't respond, just stared off at the rose bushes like something might bloom. "I hope," I said slowly, "that you get better. I hope you make something of whatever time you have left. But I'm done carrying this for you. For any of you." When he finally looked at me again, his eyes were blank. "You think anyone's going to care about your truth 6 months from now?" "I don't care if they do," I said. "It's not about them. It's about me." He nodded, as if confirming something to himself. "You really are nothing like us." Thank God for that. I stood, brushing off my jeans. Liam didn't move, didn't offer a handshake, didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. That afternoon, I filed for a legal name change. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. I'd already filled out the paperwork, had it notarized, submitted the forms at the county clerk's office with Jenna CC'd on everything. I signed it with shaking hands. Ethan Moore was a name they gave me, a name they used like a leash. I didn't know what name I'd end up choosing yet. Something quiet, something my own. But it wouldn't be theirs. And that was enough. Later that night, I stood on my balcony, watching the streetlights flicker to life. Cars hummed down the road. Voices floated up from a nearby bar patio. Life kept moving. And for the first time, I wasn't waiting for anyone to catch up. I was moving on. Not with closure, but with freedom. It was a Thursday morning when the letter came. No return address. Just a plain white envelope with my new name. First and middle only, typed neatly across the front. I almost didn't open it, assuming it was another piece of paperwork from the court. But something about the handwriting stopped me. It wasn't official. It was careful. Inside was a single page. No heading, no signature. Just a short, handwritten note in slanted, uncertain cursive. "Ethan, I saw your story online. I'm 17. Adopted when I was 2. Lately, my family's been pushing me to do something I don't want to do. Not surgery or anything like that. Just something that feels wrong. They keep saying you owe us. That I wouldn't have anything if it weren't for them. And for a while, I believed that. But then I saw your interview. The way you stood up there and told the truth, even when everyone tried to silence you. It made me realize something. I'm allowed to say no. I just wanted you to know you helped someone. Thank you. A kid who finally understands it's okay to walk away." I read it twice. Then a third time. The paper shook a little in my hands. Not from sadness. Just the sheer weight of knowing someone out there, some kid I'd never met, felt seen because I stopped letting people write my story for me. I folded the letter carefully and placed it inside the small wooden keepsake box I kept on my bookshelf. It wasn't much, just a collection of pieces I didn't want to lose. My original DNA test, a copy of the notarized affidavit, a photo Jenna had taken of me walking away from the podium, back straight, chin high, and now this, a letter from a stranger who finally felt like they had a voice. I closed the box gently and stood by the window for a moment. The city buzzed quietly outside, cars passing, leaves rustling along the sidewalk, distant voices echoing off buildings. Life was messy, but it was mine now. I walked out onto the balcony, cup of coffee in hand, and leaned against the railing. No calls from my parents. No texts from Liam. Just me, the morning air, and the first peace I'd felt in years. I took a sip, eyes on the horizon, and whispered to no one. The truth was always mine. And this time, no one could take it from me.